Hi guys, I'm Shmee. Hello to you and welcome back to the channel. Welcome today though to Mercedes-Benz Classic, where we are going to be meeting my 300SL Gullwing that I'm going to be driving on this year's Mille Miglia. So thanks to Mercedes-Benz Classic, I am joining their team for one of the best events that happens anywhere in the world. I'm going to be driving a Gullwing, an iconic 300SL, 1,000 miles from Brescia to Roma and back. Now today we're going to go and meet the car for the first time, then get to know it with a first drive out on the roads. Excited is an understatement. Mille Miglia is incredible, but let's go check out the 300SL. Before we get through to the workshop to take a look at the car that I'm going to be driving, just feast your eyes around the showroom here. There are a number of beautiful 300SL Roadsters. The Roadster came after the Gullwing. The Gullwings are the only ones that are eligible for Mille Miglia, but these things are just so pretty. A couple of them here, different colours, particularly like that car at the end, and some other models as well, all part of their showroom. They do restoration work here, servicing for customer cars, but let's skip straight through and head to see some of the lineup for this year's Mille. This is very much an active workshop, getting the cars ready to take part in the event next month. Mille cars can be from 1927 to 57, the period the original event was run, and Mercedes-Benz Classic bring 12 of their own. So we have a few cars here from different eras. Actually, that's a 1928 SSK. That would be a slightly more hardcore experience, I think, and then going through to a 190 SL based race car. This is completely straight through from the very end, maybe 1955 or so. There's also a 220A, but let's head outside and check out the 300SL. The car is lurking right outside here, the 300SL. Let's go and take a look at this in all of its glory. What a car. Small little lineup of 300SLs right here, but this is the one. This is my 300SL for the Mille Miglia, and I call it my 300SL because I'm going to be driving over 1,000 miles in this car. I don't think many owners of 300SLs would ever cover that. How special is this opportunity? Just look at it. The iconic 300SL. What a beautiful car. This is a 1955 one of the earliest. They were built from 1955 to 57, having been introduced in 1954 at the New York Auto Show. That was quite unusual back at the time. This particular car, this one, has done 30 Mille Miglias. Its first one was in 1988, which was the first Mille Miglia after I was born. So it has done every single Mille since I've been on this planet, which is quite exciting. I'll be taking it on its 31st Mille Miglia in 2018. It's a 3-litre inline-six, about 215 horsepower, but of course, period drum brakes. This car is very much one that's been driven, it's been used. But let's just open up these iconic doors. Up they go. Just have a look at this. How cool is this thing? It actually goes up to 240 kilometers an hour when you're driving it. And I can imagine it's going to be something incredible to do so in. 4-speed manual, but a lot for me to learn about the period driving elements of the car. We've had a quick run through of it already, and it's going to be time to go for my first drive in it. But it is just a work of art, a thing of beauty. And 1955, a special year, that's the year that Sir Stirling Moss did his record time, averaging over 100 miles an hour, going from Brescia to Rome and back. 10 hours, 7 minutes and 48 seconds. We're not going to be doing that on the Tribute Rally. We drive it over 4 days. But this thing is just such an icon. To climb in is not necessarily the most elegant process in the world. You kind of put your feet down there, sit on the side sill, and then swing yourself in for the final stretch. You can fold the wheel forwards actually, but I don't necessarily think that I'm going to need to do this. There we go. Into place, there's the lever here, which will just tilt it forwards. But this is beautiful as well. The dashboard dials, 67,000 kilometers that this car has driven. It has the setup, because Mille Miglia is about regulation timing, so you have to complete certain sections in a very specific amount of time. We've got our 4-speed manual, but I've been learning the bits and bobs and what different things do and how to start it and how to start the fuel pump and which buttons are the lights and that kind of thing. Not necessarily obvious. This is actually lights. What else do we have? There's also a passenger horn. That side, if the ignition was on, would be a horn button, as well as in the center of the steering wheel. Handbrake down here. There's quite a lot of space. This car's been updated, it's got some seat belts in it as well, fire extinguisher naturally, but it's a car that has been driven and used. It revs up to about 6,000 RPM. Actually, let's just open up the engine bay. See if I can step out with the camera running here. Not the easiest thing in the world to do, up onto the side sill. Yeah, that's gonna take some learning. And then the bonnet has a latch somewhere in here. Let's see if I can find it with the camera running. Yeah, there we go. So, the 3 litre, hence the name, inline 6. SL stands for Sport Light. Sport Light fairly obviously signifying what the intent of this is. 215 horsepower, 274 newton meters of torque. In its day, this was an incredibly fast, powerful and capable car. It's just gonna be so awesome. Anyway, let's close this down. I need to go out for a little drive to learn the thing and then switch the cameras on and tell you what it's like. I've had a bit of an introduction to the car. There is a lot that is very different from the more modern things I'm used to driving, but let's jump in now and go for the first drive with the camera rolling, and believe me when I tell you now, it is incredible. So you can see my attempt at a dignified entrance, this time from the outside while I'm not actually holding the camera, but basically you kind of just stick your legs in and swing yourself in like so. It's not too bad. So then when you're sitting in the car, take one of these keys. Key goes in the middle here. Basically, ignition on, then you get the fuel pump running for 5 seconds, and then you head around the back and we will be able to start it. Welcome, jump in. See if you can do this holding the camera. Perfect. So, here we are. We do have 3-point seat belts, but this is an interesting kind of topic on its own because you don't have head restraints. However, basically, one goes into gear, handbrake is on the left side, and as simple as that, away we go. We'll head off down this lovely countryside road that is around us to go and basically get a feel for what the Mille is going to be like. Away we go, and I'm actually going to open the window just to make it a little bit cooler. But the car is actually surprisingly easy to drive. Obviously the steering wheel is huge, but it's not uncomfortable. It's very gentle, which kind of surprises me for a car that is, well, more than 30 years older than I am. That's absolutely ridiculous. This car is double my age. So we've got a 4-speed manual, but it drives very normally, kind of like a modern car. The one thing you have to be really aware of driving in a 300SL is the rear swing axle. So basically what that means is if you go firm on the brakes, the rear completely picks up, goes very, very loose, and could in theory just spin around. So especially if you're driving at speed, like the Mille Miglia, or in bad weather conditions, you run a big risk of the rear swinging around. The reason for that, it was actually done for comfort. Even though it's the sports car, it was done to make it more gentle on the road, which doesn't necessarily make sense. So, driving like this all makes sense. If we drop it down into second gear here, put the foot down, just listen to this engine. If that cyclist had any idea what he was looking at, this is what driving is for, the raw, real experience. I'm in full concentration mode, but this road is stunning. So braking before the corners, off the brakes, which repositions the car, turning it in, it's heavy, it's going to be a lot of work. But here, if I just press my foot down fairly firmly on the drum brakes, you feel the back of the car picking up, and that's what I have to watch out for. But I'm going to be doing 1,000 miles in this car. This is gonna be insane. I mean, it's already insane. This is pinch moments to the highest degree. I am driving a Mercedes 300SL, one of my dream cars, one of my favorite cars, my favorite classic car that exists in the world, and this is it. I think potentially one thing I'm going to have to learn the most is actually driving it at really slow speeds and just being super gentle with the pull away, getting used to the clutch. It's very, very small on the road. It doesn't feel like a stressful experience, but it is definitely going to be a very tiring experience. So we come back out of a little village, put the foot down, 200 and something horsepower, it's not loads. The car weighed about 1,300 kilos. But how cool is this? If you didn't have oncoming cars right now, you would swear we were in the 50s or 60s or something driving along. Oh, goodness me. Road is incredible. Do you know what? Even just today would be something I'm never going to forget. But driving this on the Mille, driving this car on the Mille Miglia, oh my gosh, I cannot wait. Absolutely glorious. What a day driving a 300SL on a proper countryside road. Heavenly. We're heading back towards Mercedes Classic with the Mille Miglia this year. It goes always from Brescia down to Roma and back up again. It starts in Brescia, then we go to Cervia, then we have a very long day down towards Rome, then we go from Rome back up via Parma to finally finishing in Brescia. But you see basically the whole of Italy, millions of people turn out, and we're going to be driving in this car, but also the AMG GT R is going to be joining as the kind of media support car behind us. So this is going to be amazing to have, I guess, the modern Mercedes, the Mercedes AMG, back with one of their most iconic cars ever in the form of this, the 300SL. So I've always wanted to drive the Mille Miglia properly. We're going to be trying to take this as a challenge, as a competition, enter it, try and score the most points that we can. But, I mean, what is this? This is basically, I think it might not make sense on the camera, but one of the most exciting things I have ever done. Driving a car as special as this on an event like the Mille Miglia. There will be about 30, 35 300SLs, 9 of them from Mercedes Classic themselves. But this is just going to be incredible. So I hope you guys are going to enjoy the journey. I am very much looking forward to getting to really know what this car is like, bucket list stuff alike. For the minute, let's get back towards Mercedes-Benz Classic. Just take in the first experience in this car. I mean, this is a like €1.5 million, €1.75 million car on its own. Just think about that. Now this is a cool view. We're just outside Stuttgart, but it feels like we're already in Tuscany or something down in Italy. Small roads we'll be driving on. The pavement and tarmac won't be quite as good as it is here, but the car is very small. There's only one wing mirror, not a door mirror, out on the wings, and the rear view mirror is mounted down here in the center console, so you can't necessarily see too much in it. But it's quite easy to position the car because obviously back then they didn't have quite as much safety and security and technology as cars do now, so it's just so small on the road. Okay then, here we are, back at Mercedes-Benz Classic, where we can do a final kind of wrap up. It's a cool location, but what an experience this has been, just driving this car. What an absolutely wonderful afternoon. So this has been in the plans for quite a while. You might actually remember when I visited the Mercedes-Benz Museum back in December, when I drove down with my AMG GT R and we were walking around having a look. At the time, I was taking a look at the 300SL thinking, what would that be like? And then we got talking, and then here we are, driving this car on the Mille Miglia. I just cannot wait for this. It's going to be the most incredible thing. Yeah, you get the point. You get the point completely. It is such a special car. One I have always loved. I think pretty much at any time in the past, if people have said to me, would I ever buy a classic car? I've often said, if the numbers came up, one of these would be right there. 300SL. Gullwing or Roadster, who knows? But for this, Gullwing is definitely the most, I suppose, appropriate. One other random thing about the car, by the way, it has a 130-litre fuel tank. So we don't have to fill up too much. Well, it depends how we drive, I suppose. It's just this shape. I mean, it was built as a racing car in the 50s, right? So even with the drum brakes and the pads that this car has, it's still quite sporty. It might not be up to modern standards, but yeah, 300SL. So it is a huge thanks to these guys, Mercedes-Benz Classic, not only for the opportunity to drive it today, which has already been quite something, but to be driving this car on the rally, 1,000 miles from Brescia to Rome and back in a couple of weeks' time. I honestly can't wait to share this journey with you and to explain a little bit more about how the regulation stages work, the timing, and to see how well we do in the competition element of it as well. But there we go. My first drive in the 300SL, the car that I'm going to be driving an awful lot more. This is going to be so good. Thank you very much, as always, for watching, guys. I can't wait to get to Italy and be back with this car for the Mille Miglia in May. Thanks again, and I'll see you very soon. Cheers.